North-South is the first private university in Bangladesh, and it has been one of the topmost universities in Bangladesh according to Times Higher Education and QS ranking. Today's Meet the Global Media Leaders is one of our series talks of Meet the Editors, which is an insightful talk of series initiated by Media Communication and Journalism.
As I said, it was actually launched in September 2002, the MCJ program. But before that, we had a general education program is known as television and new media, which is actually a part of general education course that was taken by many students from other departments. There were the times when we did not have MCJ or media communication students. Currently, actually, I launched that television new media course as a GED course, and currently we have almost 20 sections in which 800 students are studying. And in 2002, we launched MCJ as Professor Tawfiq Elahi was saying that in our initiation, in designing our curriculum, we consulted international bodies like IMCR, ICA, and even UNESCO, and under their framework, we actually launched our media communication journalism. It was a series of meetings with foreign faculties and resources from across the world, out of which we created our MCJ program, which we think is one of the most cutting-edge program and critically oriented program that we currently have at North-South University. So our vision is to make media graduate who will be critically oriented, theoretically grounded, and practically informed. So that is our motto from the very beginning, and we are actually gearing towards that with our foreign faculties and our Bangladeshi faculties that we are accommodating, making it more globalized actually program from pulling our resources together from home and abroad. Regarding the curriculum, we have a blend of very North American system at North-South University, as you know. In fact, this program was launched as media and journalism, but it has later changed as media communication journalism. But I'd like to say that we have 129 credits, out of which 77 credits actually comes, 57 credits come from core courses. There is elective courses is 20. In fact, 77 credit actually goes to media communication journalism courses, and 52 students will learn various courses like public health to science and other courses. So you can think why students need to have different courses other than their own subjects. As we know, an undergrad level students are jack of all trades. They need to know every bits and pieces from different courses. And after that, in their masters and PhD, they will have more focused study. Regarding courses, we have very latest and very timely courses that currently we are facing as we are living in post-digital age. As you have seen that in Bangladesh, recent student movement that took place because of the digitality that we are currently experiencing, and we have focused on a digital platform with online journalism, digital storytelling, and there is also legacy or traditional media as well as new media courses that we have at NSU, and it gives also accommodation of gender, media communication, even games studies and everything.
When we started media communication and journalism, even though it was a little bit late, because North-South University is the first private university in Bangladesh. North-South is the topmost private university in the country, and now also second top in terms of all public and private universities. But it took almost, I think it's almost more than 27 years to start media communication and journalism. And there were some practical reasons, but One of the excuse that we give that we wanted to start late, but we wanted to start very comprehensively. So we planned a lot. We prepared ourselves for almost 1.5 years to 2 years. We built the NSU TV, radio, and digital laboratory facilities before we start even the undergrad program. And now we are very confidently can claim that we are one of the most strongest media communication and journalism department or program in the country. And we have lots of ambition, and we can hope that with support of our national and international friends and partners, we will achieve that. In terms of partnership and networks, we are so happy to let you know that we also have a scholarship program that we started with the Prothom Alo, the leading Bangla daily in the country for the first time. They gave scholarships to media communication journalism students. And also we have internship partnership with many media outlets here in the almost all major media outlets. They have already agreed and made agreement with us for our students to go and do internship there. Another aspect that I would like to let you know that our faculty, I am a non-media person, but I can understand our media faculty members are very diversified. We have quite a strong faculty pool here. We have faculties from South Asia region. We have faculties from Nepal.
I will not say much because I think we should be interactive, and we would like to listen to all of you. Speak your minds, because we've entered a new era in Bangladesh, and it really affects freedom of expression, and it's an opportunity for all of us to say something about it. And this is a great opportunity because we have Deutsche Welle here, who really believes in strengthening freedom of expression and peace, justice, like SDG 11, SDG 16 is really one of the things that they're looking into, strengthening of institutions, which I think the Nobel Prize for Economics really explained how important institutions are in bringing about prosperity in country. But anyway, because I'm a teacher, I would really rattle off, but I would rather reserve the time for all of you. So thank you very much.
I would especially like to thank Dr. Ilari and his team for working so hard to put together a great program with representatives from all over Bangladesh later this month for the 9th CGEN conference. A conference, as we heard, of the Communication and Journalism Educators Network that DW Akademie supported in its founding in 2018. I myself will unfortunately miss the conference, but I'm sure that it will be a great example of collaboration between the leading journalism schools in Bangladesh. It's my first time here in Bangladesh. I've seen a little bit. It's a beautiful country, and especially in this time, an exciting country, an inspiring country for people around the world, because the spirit of writing a new chapter in history is visible everywhere. And I felt it when I talked to young people in the last few days, young journalism students, trainees, volunteers in different parts of Bangladesh over the last few days. And on a personal note, now the professors and assistant professors should listen, us older people. Not everything that young people say or want is automatically great just because it's new. But it's also not true that everything we say as the people who hold positions of influence and is automatically correct because just we are older and have more experience and are supposedly wiser. Because if we are really wise, we should listen to the young people, support them where they have a point, and enter into a dialogue with them where we disagree. Because there might be disagreements, but the idea is to come together to talk about new ways forward. The great thing for Bangladesh is that you have young people here who have ideas, who are engaged, who are active, who are courageous even when faced with suppression and violence, and who stand up for what they believe. And we all should use that energy in the time ahead to improve things in our particular field of responsibility, which is media and journalism. I'm actually amazed that so much is happening already in the field of media and journalism education in Bangladesh, even just after a few weeks or months after the events in August. More and more universities, public and private, are coming up with new ideas for trainings, for courses on mass communication and journalism. The DW Akademie, which is Germany's leading, actually Europe's leading media development organization, we have for a long time understood that properly educating young adults and making them fit for their profession in the media is of utmost importance if you want to build a freer, a fairer, a more just and more peaceful society. By the way, apart from all the journalism trainings that we do and consultancy, we also have established a small master's degree program on media management in cooperation with 2 German universities in Bonn. So this is also where we take some of the experience that we are exchanging with our esteemed colleagues here in Bangladesh. Our main donor, the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, has always emphasized that offering more opportunities for the youth is important, especially, it's in every country, but also and especially in a country like Bangladesh, where 1/4 of the population is in the age group of 15 to 29. So we at DW Akademie have, for the last 10 years, done a lot in the field of media and journalism education. We worked on improving curricula. We exchanged expertise and shared international best practices with our colleagues here. We supported the establishment of career advice centers and came up with internship opportunities, or the centers came up with internship opportunities. And there was also the launch of a fellowship program. And these are just some of the activities. We have also set up campus media together. I mean, we have done that alone. That's obviously our partners. All of that with the aim to bring the media sector closer to the academic sector, which means to bring the newsrooms closer to the classroom. So I think practical training is very important. If there's one thing, also from my own experience as a former student, is the more practical the training is, the better the students are prepared for the real life outside of the campus. It is a great responsibility for all of us to educate young people and give them a vision for their professional lives. And maybe to answer, or try to answer the important question from Professor Hack, so why are young people not becoming journalists when they have studied journalism or communication? Of course, there's not one answer, but I think it's a mix of things that we all in our respective societies have to work on. It's, first of all, a question of the spirit, because I always tell young journalists at DW, who mostly know, but sometimes you have to tell them again, this is not just a job. If you want to do a 9-to-5 job, if you want your weekends free, if you want to sleep well at night, journalism is not for you. So you should be aware this is a calling, it's not a job. And that is the first thing, it has to come from the journalist. This is a kind of mentality. But it's also the framework we have to look at. I think also the society has to look at media in a different way, and that's difficult in a time when we have social media, when there's so many lies flying around in the cyberspace. It's difficult, it's tough even for the best journalists, the best quality media, to bring across to people why they should listen to them, why they should watch their programs, why they should read their articles. And the one thing that we have is credibility. So the next thing we have to do as quality media is to work on our credibility. And yes, there are more sensational things on X or Facebook or Instagram, whatever you want to use. But if people really want to know, they should come to us, to our media. This is something you have to work on for years, and it can be destroyed in 1 second when you put out a story that's simply not true and you get caught. So this is a very delicate thing, but it also, that's on the side of the media. But also the society has to acknowledge the value of journalism, to understand there can be no democracy, there can be no free society if there is no free speech and also free and independent journalism. Because only then will the powerful be held in check, will be held accountable. And again, this only works if the media also play fair and are credible. Then it works. So we also need to protect journalists. That's a very important thing. Unfortunately, there have been cases here in other countries around the world where journalists are targeted directly. May it be from state actors, security service, but also from extremists, from criminals. We have an office in Mexico City, and we work a lot on protection of journalists. It's not so much the state, it's just criminal gangs. They target anyone, any journalist who's trying to do their jobs. In other places, it's the government, like in Russia, where you cannot even call a war, but have to call it a special operation, otherwise you end up in jail. So this is also the next thing that we need, protection of journalists, and I mean, admire all those journalists who risk their lives or their safety, their health for their job. It is a calling, as I said, but I don't expect a journalist to risk his or her life every day. So we all as a society have to make sure that journalists can do their job. And I think the last, but probably not the least one, is money. And this we have to get across to the people who run those media businesses. If you don't pay journalists properly, if you don't give them the chance to live from what they do, then you cannot expect to get the best people, you cannot expect to get the most dedicated people, you cannot expect people to put in extra hours, because they have to put food or rice or whatever you want on the table. And so you have to do 2 or 3 side jobs apart from your job in your newspaper or your TV station or wherever. So I think it's this mix of things that have to come from ourselves and the spirit that we have to install in our young students. But it's also that the society has to do better in protecting journalists, in acknowledging the value that free media have. And it's also the media operators, maybe in state organizations or in private companies. If you want good people, if you want good results, pay your people well. So this is my little piece of advice, and I'm happy, I don't want to take too much of your time, I'm happy to discuss this further. Let me just say thank you for your hospitality and for your kindness towards me. I hope we can continue to work together jointly and share our common values and respective knowledge, because that's what it's all about. It's about exchange of knowledge, not one side telling the other how it should be done. We want to share knowledge and we want to become better together. All that in order to help young adults to grow and later serve society, a free and democratic society, as the ultimate goal.
In which we work mainly on journalism education and media viability, so the sustainability of media houses, not only in a financial sense, but also in their whole structure, their whole organizational structure, and their concepts that they want to reach their audience with in order to build trust.
Fight for democracy and a stable government in Bangladesh and the recent events that have occurred in Bangladesh. What would you say that Deutsche Welle has to offer to the field of journalism in, let's say, the next 5 or 10 years?
I think what we're planning at least is to continue our cooperation with all the leading media or journalism schools at the universities in Bangladesh, because I think a good basic education for journalists before they enter the field as professionals is very important. Again, I think if our partners and colleagues are interested in it, we can also share ideas, especially on practical issues, because again, I think this is very important that people do actual work. I mean, campus media, which I've seen, for instance, here and also in other places, are one way, but also it might be an idea to connect with more media outside of the campus, to have internships, traineeships where people can work practically between sessions or in the breaks to advise you, or because I can't, because I would be the wrong person to give advice here. But I can say on a more general basis, looking at the experiences that we have in many other countries, is that when we look at the media situation in the country, we look at everything from the media laws and the media regulation, also the media self-regulation, so the media coming together to set standards and punish those who get out of line the way they can, all the way to looking at the standards of journalism education, so when people leave universities they know what the do's and don'ts are, all the way to the field of media and information literacy, so to improve the competence of young people especially, but also all people actually, to use media, in particular social media, responsibly, and not to start a riot but just because the uncle of the friend of acquaintance from the village next door posted something and said this is happening, everybody should be enraged. This takes a long time, but it's important that we look at all these factors. So journalism, so universities, but also journalist associations should lobby the government and parliament to improve regulations concerning the protection of journalists. We have to engage with the police. We're doing that. For instance, we have a project on security of female journalists in Kenya, where especially female journalists are often harassed, attacked, bullied on the internet. And we actually have involved the police in our trainings and workshops because we found that very often policemen were not really aware of that this is a real threat, this is a real problem. And so they had to be educated on this, to take things seriously, to look into things, to go to the perpetrators if they can be found and tell them, don't do this, we are watching you. Then of course the journalists themselves have to organize, they have to come together. This is something that we do in Mexico, because you cannot rely on the state in Mexico. The state is relatively weak, especially in those areas where the narco gangs are holding reign. So the only thing for the journalists to do is to take care of each other, to always say, I'm here, if I don't call you again in 4 hours, yeah, inform someone, stuff like that, yeah. Also to raise awareness in the public. So there's not this one solution. Yeah, in a perfect world, I mean, I come from a country, thank God, where journalists are relatively well protected, they are well paid, they have a lot of rights. The courts uphold those rights even against the state. So actually I have much more respect for the journalists here in Bangladesh than back home in Germany, because being a journalist in Germany is easy. Being a journalist here, being a journalist in Mexico, being a journalist in Kenya, that is brave. That is real journalism. But if you want to protect ourselves, we have to work together, we have to educate people, we have to work with the authorities if they're willing to listen, and we have to try to form a network of protections to make our lives a bit easier.
Thanks for your answer, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll not go for any questions. We are running out of time.
Sir, I have a last simple question.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, sir. It's Nur Muhammad. So my question is, how do you balance journalistic neutrality with the need to report on human rights abuses and other sensitive topics?
Okay, how much time do you have? Yeah, I mean, that's really a philosophical question, but I'll try to keep it short. So, there is nothing like absolute neutrality. There's nothing like absolute truth. We all have our prejudices, we all have stereotypes in our head, we all have our specific experiences. Each and every one of us is a planet of its own, with its own values and so on. So the same event, the same facts might be interpreted differently. What we should always try as journalists is to be as close to the truth, as close to a neutral view on things as we humanly can, which is a balancing act, and not everybody will agree, but we have to try, first thing. And then, of course, we have to be fair. I think if we cannot be neutral, we should at least be fair. Which doesn't mean, though, you said you're talking about abuses of human rights. That doesn't mean I say, oh, here are the people whose family have been slaughtered, but the other guys say it's not true, and even though we have the evidence. No, our job then is to present the evidence. Our job is not to make a judgment. That is something that when I was a very young journalist, my editor-in-chief at a small newspaper actually told me, we are not the judges. We are the guys who collect the evidence. We are the guys who present the case. And yes, even in presenting the case, you can form a narrative. It's a question, where do you put which statement in the article, for instance? Which elements do you emphasize? How do you tell the story? Of course, there can also be bias in that. But again, our job should be to try to do it in an as fair and balanced way as possible. But it doesn't mean the guy who says the earth is flat should get the same kind of coverage as the guy who says, well, we looked at it and we have the telescopes and we looked at it from the space and we know it's round. Yeah? So you can mention there are some guys who think the earth is flat, but it's not that these two guys should get like the same kind of coverage. We should mention it, and some people say this, but we should try to come as close to the truth as we can. So it will never be perfect. We will never be able to do stuff in a way that no one will criticize us. And we should be criticized. Everybody should be under scrutiny. But the better we do our jobs, the better we have our facts prepared, the more we feel confident that what we are telling is true, the better it is. Sometimes you have to simplify things when the world is complicated. I have done it myself. You work for a newspaper or you work for a radio station. It's a very complicated issue, and the editor tells you, yeah, you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I say, great. In 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I can do the introduction. But how do you tell a story like that? You have to simplify. You have to narrow the story down. The same goes for a newspaper article. But even there, we have to try at least to give the audience the gist of what the story is about. Again, there's not equal distance. If we have clear evidence of atrocities, we should point that out. But it's not our job to be the prosecutors, the police, and the judges all in one. That's not our job. That's the audience's job.
I understood the matters, that it was a very thought-provoking discussions on the very pertinent issues in regards to the media people, media journalisms in all domain. The first and foremost thing that I would like to see that the upcoming generation of the journalists or media and communications people, they truly need to emphasize the ethical and moral part if you want to become truly a good journalist and good, individual who can actually create impact in terms of your integrity and also learning the subject matter in a very professional way. Well, we all are living in a world, most of you know that we are living in a world where every citizen has become to some extent a journalist in terms of the social media, because people, individuals are becoming, or at least part of creating news through the social media. So it is very important for us to actually give proper educations to the, to become a civic citizen of no matter where we are living in terms of the geographic boundary. The countries, those who are advanced in terms of the civility and their knowledge-based education, they are far more ethical, just, fair, in terms of the journalism and practicing those things and also respecting the profession. On the other hand, when we see that, those who we are actually behind in terms of actually producing and converting our citizens with the proper educations, with integrity, fairness, and also man with ideology, we see the lack of those things here, and through which many of us, most of us, try to even exploit the concept of journalism in a citizenship journalism. We see that people are always coming up with different sorts of messages or informations, disinformations they are creating, and these are actually creating noises and problems and issues in the community and countries and anywhere. But when we want to see that the professional journalism, especially our students in the media and journalism department, that we being Bangladeshi university, we are trying to produce good graduates, and we would like to see that, well, this generation, future generation of these students are going to become far more ethical and also, good journalists who are going to stand always for the fair and the truth. They are going to always go on. This is what I think that the importance of this kind of session, interacting with the people like those who came from DW Akademie. They are the one, they can give you sort of global perspective and also their understanding, their knowledge, and this sort of knowledge dissemination is very important for our students to become enriched individual. When you can become enriched individual, definitely you would be able to actually, work in the ground with ethical and moral integrity. That's what we truly want. And the problems and issues that our guests have been actually talking about in terms of the different parts of the world, the journalists are harassed and also they are in trouble because of the societal and other problems and issues. These are always a big question for us, that we see that, well, good journalists, good people and good individuals with knowledge and also try to truly do good work in the media sector, but they are actually harmed by the people, by the community, by the segment of the people, those who have opposite type of thoughts and do not respect other people's opinion. Journalism is a career where, being a journalism, as our guest was actually trying to say, that, well, if you are not, you can be to some extent linked with one side, but you can be also fair in terms of giving the information and what you would like to portray. And as a receiver also, people or citizens, they can also take those things academically, that, well, yes, that might be his or her opinion or one side of this story, and I being the other side, I'm not going to harm that. Well, let us live in a world where everybody, on each of us, has the, has the right to even talk about whatever we feel. That's what is very important for all of us, to create a world of actually knowledge. Here, the main problem is our education sector. The education, and education. And the disparity in the education front and understanding and creating or converting the human beings in terms of with, good citizen, we are way too far behind. Not us, many parts of the world, and that's what is actually creating this kind of problems. No matter it is in, it is in Africa or it is in South Asia or it is in any other place, the problem with the knowledge base, that we do not have that mindset that we are going to live in a world where every human being has the right to say, right to talk, right to write. But we are not actually giving those access, or even sometimes we do not accept those things, that these are not. This cannot be published, or why did it publish, or why did it get through? So, my dear students, you try to become first ethically just. You try to see the other side of the story. You cross your ideas and thoughts and try to become an ethical journalist who can actually float around, in the media sector and bring the stories and informations and anything that is actually causing problems. You bring it to the media and to your write-ups. With all those, if you see that, well, you have that sort of integrity and standard that you would like to maintain in your life, you should be able to carry on. I know that, well, this cannot be resolved in one day. Nowhere in the world you are going to see that, well, all journalists are going to be actually a free, they're going to live in a free world. They are always going to be in deep trouble. But I'm sure that there are some techniques and strategies that you are going to learn through this kind of interaction, that how you are going to save yourself in many occasions, and also become somebody who can actually create impact. So I would request the DW Akademie to collaborate with our media and journalism programs in the upcoming days.
University, our guest from Germany, Carsten, and then the other guest from the embassy.
Okay, it's an honor to welcome all of you to the North-South University. It was, I think, a start of a very interesting discussions. I hope it would have continued. I'm very sure after this small ceremony is going to continue. I'd like to thank all of you who have taken the trouble to come up here, but we hope, I think we, the university hopes, like the Vice Chancellor has pointed out, this is not the start and it's a one-off program. It could be a start of a journey. And I hope we will have further collaboration with DW in future, and especially online courses is much more easier. And one thing, I'll probably take this opportunity, one thing that could be helpful to the students of a very practical knowledge, not to teach them theories. One, at least in scope for many of our countries, is the art and science of investigative journalism. If you could think on it, how to offer a training program on that could be an issue that we could think about. I'm very sure that in the future we'll have further collaboration, and I'd like to thank all my colleagues in the media and communication and journalism program who has taken the trouble to host this program, and my colleagues in North-South. And last but not the least, the students who have taken time off and to attend the program and asking very intelligent questions. I hope that you can, in the next session, you'll be come up with much more intelligent questions and give our guest a very hard time. Thank you so much.